Brandi and Jenna, and today we're here to tell you about your new favorite drug, Vivjoa.
Vivjoa, also known as oteseconazole, treats recurrent vulvovaginal candidiasis, most commonly called yeast infections. A recurrent yeast infection is 3 symptomatic infections within a 12-month period of asymptomatic yeast infections. Basically, biological women who get yeast infections more than 3 times a year. Someone might think that 3 yeast infections in a year is not a lot, but yeast infections cause itchiness of the vulva and can inhibit everyday life. Also, untreated yeast infections can lead to other health problems, such as causing infections in other parts of the body from yeast overgrowth. Here is a video describing the mechanism of the drug on yeast cells, but do not worry, we will slim down the mechanism into simpler terms.
CYP51 catalyzes an early step in the biosynthetic pathway of ergosterol, a sterol required for fungal cell membrane formation and integrity. Building on the proven mechanism of the azole drug class, oteseconazole inhibits the production of ergosterol by blocking the fungal enzyme CYP51. Ergosterol depletion alters the fluidity and structure of the fungal cell wall, which in turn limits the cell's ability to grow and reproduce.
Simply, Vivjoa inhibits an important enzyme called cytochrome P450 enzyme 51 in yeast cells that is used for the integrity and health of the cell. The drug causes death to the yeast cells, which stops the cells from overgrowth. Additionally, the drug is more efficient because Vivjoa has a selective binding site for just yeast cells instead of yeast and human cells like its competitor, fluconazole. Vivjoa can last longer in the body because it has a half-life of weeks, while fluconazole has a half-life of about 30 hours. This means Vivjoa can stay active longer in the body than its competitor, making it more efficient.
As my partner Jenna just mentioned, fluconazole is the main competitor to Vivjoa. Similarly to Vivjoa, the purpose of fluconazole is to treat infections that arise from different kinds of fungus. The drug works rather well, but the symptoms range from chest tightness, vomiting, headache, fever, etc. This is completely different than the symptoms found on Vivjoa, which are far less extreme. There are numerous safety concerns for fluconazole that may arise if it is combined with numerous other medications that may cause life-threatening heart rhythm conditions. Therefore, it's pretty clear to see that using Vivjoa is the safer and healthier option for most individuals. The biological women that participated in this study all shared any symptoms that they experienced throughout the entirety of the clinical study. With this being said, only 7.4% of the biological women experienced a headache, and only 3.6% experienced nausea. These statistics are amazing because it is an awful feeling when one medication causes other health-related issues. Luckily, for most individuals, Vivjoa is not that kind of medicine. The dosage of Vivjoa is simple for most anyone to understand. When you go to your pharmacy, you would receive 18 capsules of 150 milligrams oteseconazole tablets. For the first week of treatment, the biological woman would take 1 tablet per day. However, for the following 10 weeks, the biological woman would only take 1 tablet per week. This is a beneficial dosage plan because the biological woman is not required to take a pill each night for 11 weeks to ensure there would be no recurrent RVVC. The price of Vivjoa was sadly not shared to the public from Mycovia Pharmaceuticals. However, GoodRx and SingleCare provided estimates to the public on their websites. As you can see, the price before their discounts were rather extreme, but it brought the price of Vivjoa down to anywhere between $1,400 and $2,800. It is important to note here that this does not include any expected insurance. There were a total of 3 clinical trial phases to ensure the effectiveness of Vivjoa. The first and second phases were global studies that were double-blind, placebo-controlled studies. This means that neither the researchers nor patients knew if they were receiving Vivjoa or a placebo. A placebo is typically a sugar pill that mimics the appearance of the experimental drug to ensure validation of the results. The results were astonishing, with 93.3% of the biological women that were treated with Vivjoa did not experience recurrent RVVC for 48 weeks, while only 57.2% of the biological women that were treated with the placebo did not experience recurrent RVVC. The results were replicated again with the clinical trial phase 2, which ensured that when using Vivjoa, the cases of recurrent RVVC are extremely limited when compared to the placebo. The third phase was a U.S. study that was a single randomized double-blind placebo-controlled study in which the patients were treated with fluconazole and then the placebo. Similarly to the other two studies, 89.7% of the biological women that were treated with Vivjoa did not experience recurrent RVVC for 48 weeks. On the other hand, 57.1% of the biological women that were treated with fluconazole and then the placebo did not experience recurrent RVVC for 48 weeks. This further ensures that Vivjoa is effective not only against a placebo, but also its own competitor, fluconazole.
From these clinical trials, the drug is FDA approved based upon the positive results from the 3 phase 3 trials, so the drug is safe to use for the public.
There are many individuals that may be at risk when using Vivjoa. Females with reproductive potential and those that are pregnant or lactating are at risk due to the embryo-fetal toxicity. This means that Vivjoa may be harmful to a developing embryo or a baby that is being breastfed. However, the reason that these individuals are at risk is because not enough data has been collected on these individuals with these conditions. Similarly, there are more individuals that are at risk due to limited data as well. So, individuals with severe renal impairment or end-stage renal disease, or individuals with severe hepatic impairment should not take Vivjoa due to the lack of data that is present. Lastly, individuals with known sensitivity to osteoconazole should not take Vivjoa either. Therefore, it is important to talk to your doctor about if Vivjoa is the right medication for you.
Therefore, you should invest in Vivjoa because it is more efficient and safer than other competing drugs in the fight against chronic yeast infection. As a company, I would want the best drug in the market, and that is Vivjoa.